The teller. The teller. The teller.
It's another day. Left jab, right jab. This is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts. Undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim? Looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting. If you lose, keep your chin up. Know how the game go. I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller. The teller. The teller. The teller.
What is up, you guys? UFC Fight Night. Derek Brunson versus Edmen Shahbazyan. Another card coming at you guys. We're headed back to Vegas for this one. We had a little stint over in Abu Dhabi. As a lot of you guys know, we're going to be back over there sometime before the end of the year. But now we're back in the Apex Center, which is going to be, the beginning of a lot of events taking place over there. God willing, cross our fingers, everything, no disruptions. Of course, you see what's going on with the MLB. A lot of you guys have been teasing me about my Marlins, but hey, Marlins, they start the season off 2-1, take 2 out of the first 3 games against the Philadelphia Phillies. But now you guys see what's happening with the whole COVID situation. Seems like almost half the team has COVID right now, so really not a good look for sports in general. But again, these are team sports, so a little bit different than mixed martial arts. I think the UFC has this under control. Hopefully, Vegas doesn't mess with them at all, and try to restrict them from doing anything. I don't think that'll be the case, but nevertheless, we're back over in Vegas, and we got a fight card here that I think we got a lot of entertaining fights throughout this card, and I'm excited for it. And we're going to be getting into each and every single one of the fights on the card. As you see, we got Joanne Calderwood taking on Jennifer Maia. Vincent Luque, who's never in a dull fight, taking on Randy Brown. A lot of good fights, man, throughout the card. We're going to be getting to all of them. Of course, we got to take a look back at the event that we just had this past Saturday. Some amazing fights took place. Some very exciting fights. Bobby Knuckles came through in a major way. A big fight against Darren Till. I had him. He was one of my major plays. One of my 2 plays on the night. I was very high on Robert Whitaker. I felt like this is a guy that's been proven. He's fought in those 5-round wars before. Former middleweight champion of the world. Darren Till had that 1 victory in the division. It was a close fight against Kelvin. I was on Robert there, so I jumped all over that. Mauricio Shogun Hua, very close fight. I thought Nogueira might have done enough to take the fight. Could have went either way. But props to both those guys for going in there and putting on a show. Verdum, man. Verdum looks spectacular. I had a couple beers in my belly, man, for that fight, and although I did edge Alexander Gustafsson to win the fight, like most all of us did. If you run back the fight companion, as that fight was coming up, I said screw it. I said I'm throwing some money on Verdum because the line was off. It was a fight that I really wanted to stay away from as far as like a major bet, but I threw a little something on it, and the line was so good that it still paid. Put some money in my pocket, so that was exciting. Just for fun, some small bets. Carla Esparza took a split decision victory over Marina Rodriguez. That was my second play of the night. Wasn't happy about that. Very close fight. I would like to say I thought Marina Rodriguez should have got the nod. Some people agree with me on that, but if you can't stuff those takedowns, even though she did a lot of damage, it was for shorter periods of time. On the feet, she looked amazing, and but Carla got those takedowns, and Marina couldn't stuff the takedown. It was kind of strange. Her takedown defense looked worse than ever. You'd think it would have got better. Looked worse than ever. But still think she probably did enough to squeak out the first 2 rounds. I mean, all the significant damage was all her. Bloodied up Carla, butchered her face up. But Carla is a tough chick, and she kept pushing forward, and she took that 3rd round, so props to her. Paul Craig, got that submission right in the first round, and that was a very exciting fight, too, for as long as it lasted. Alex Cowboy Oliveira looked very good. Khamzat, man, this guy is the real deal. That was ridiculous. I posted some statistics on my Instagram. It's ridiculous in these first 2 fights that he's had in the UFC. I don't believe the guy's barely even been touched. What he did to McKee was disgusting. And this he speaks good English, and he's talking crap, saying that he's going to take that belt relatively soon, and I believe it. I'm not doubting this guy in the least bit. So, guy is an absolute beast, man. Oh. So expect to see him go in there and destroy someone very soon again, and I'm sure the line will be ridiculous. Francisco Trinaldo, ended up, I stood with Trinaldo. I thought that he had the experience and whatnot. I picked him to win the fight. It was a very exciting fight. Trinaldo looked good in the first round. I had a couple setbacks there in the second round. Got the finish in the third round. What an exciting fight. And of course, that spun a lot of controversy between Dan Hardy and Herb Dean. I'm sure a lot of you guys heard about that. And, my whole thoughts as far as when that fight should have been stopped. I mean, I get it. When Trinaldo hit him, maybe Herb probably should have just stopped the fight right there. I mean, Herbert was, his eyes were kind of glazed over. I wouldn't say they were rolling the back of his head, but, he didn't really know where he was. He was putting his hands up. You could have stopped it there, but I understand if you want to give him a chance just in case he gets his wits. But I thought it was kind of dragged out. I don't think there was any reason for that all to go down like that. Maybe Dan Hardy was being a little bit too emotional in there. A lot of these fighters like to take at least one extra shot rather than a fight stopped early, but I still get the other side too, man. Trinaldo, he rocked him hard and the fight was over. Okay, I get it. As far as Herb Dean goes, a lot of you guys, everyone I talk to, everyone says Herb Dean's the best referee, man. And then every time he screws up, it's the same old story. Well, he's good for the most part. I'm a Herb Dean fan. I think he's a great referee, but I think he's completely overrated. I think there's better referees out there. I'm more of a fan of Dan Miragliotta. But, people like to play in that narrative that Herb Dean's the best because I guess Joe Rogan always says how good Herb Dean is, so everyone just goes along with that. And Herb Dean, he's been around the block for a long time, but he's a great referee, but maybe a little bit overhyped in my opinion. Jesse Ronson, how about Jesse Ronson with the big upset? I know that really damaged some people's parlays and whatnot. I saw in the Fight Companion, a lot of people were saying that. Tom Aspinall looked amazing. Jake Collier, we're going to touch upon him in a second, man. Jake Collier, what was that about? Movsar Evlov looked amazing against Mike Grundy. This guy's going to be probably a future champion or a future title challenger. What I saw from him out there, man, putting in time with top team now, this guy is relentless. The striking, the grappling is all top notch. Expect big things from him. Tanner Boser, too, looked amazing. Another beautiful stoppage. Pani Kianzad looked good. Squeaked off those 2 rounds. Good fight. Betch took 1 round, I believe. Ramazan Amiv, pretty much just put the pressure on Stolze. And Nathaniel Wood, took off a decision against John Castaneda, which, he was a heavy favorite. And he won a 30-27 decision, but fight really wasn't that dominant. I'm not overly impressed with Nathaniel Wood. He didn't really, put himself on the map to me as far as I'm concerned. So that was the fight card. And let's see. I was talking about Jake Collier. Speaking of Jake Collier, before I get to that too, I'm gonna pull up a funny post, man. And shout out to Billy who brought up a funny joke, and I cleaned it up a little bit, made a little post of it. But I'm creeping up on 5,000 followers, man. I'm about 22 followers away from hitting 5K. So if you guys want to help me out, let's hit 5K this week. But yeah, this was Jake Collier. This is him, going into the fight this past weekend, and this is how he used to look back in the day. Of course, how a lot of you guys remember him. And that this is his Tinder profile. I made a little joke out of it. Someone brought it up, like I said, but I cleaned it up. And, I said Jake Collier has the guilty look on his face from using this picture as his Tinder profile for some years, to prey upon his Tinder prey. But I thought that was pretty funny. A lot of you guys did too. Shout out to Billy. And, yeah, man, just almost at that 5,000 mark. Hannah Goldie, man, for those of you guys that didn't see the show, Hannah Goldie was on the show this past Thursday. I thought it was an excellent interview. I highly recommend you guys go check it out. She's a cool chick, and you could expect to see her back in the octagon at some point in time leading up to the end of this year, and I'm excited for it, man. She was a really down-to-earth type of chick. I'm excited to see her get into a scrap in her next fight, so that was cool. If you guys didn't see that, go check it out. Hit subscribe while you're on the channel, man. I appreciate you guys. And let's see what else we got here before we get into the card. I think that's about it. Got the betting lines here, and a couple opportunities in my opinion. And with no further ado, we're gonna get into the first fight. Chris Gutierrez, who just relatively fought not that long ago inside the octagon, making a quick return against the UFC newcomer Cody Durden. So this guy Cody Durden, I want to start with him here for a second. You see him over here putting in some time at American Top Team. This is Atlanta American Top Team over there with Diego Lima, the Lima brothers and whatnot. This guy, has a wrestling background, and but it's really been putting a lot of time in on his striking. Doing a lot of kickboxing bouts and whatnot. We'll pull up his record. He's 11-2. 11-2, 29 years old, and he's been winning fight after fight over here. And like I said, doing some kickboxing, some boxing bouts. If you look at some of these guys that he fought, a lot of guys, not with a lot of big names, but if you look at their records and their resumes, not horrible. A lot of guys that have decent resumes. You watch the fight tape on him, he's a tough dude. This loss that he had against Ryan Hollis, that was a fight he was dominating before making a mistake and getting choked out in the second round. Dominated the first round. Jared Scoggins, that's a guy, that's Scoggins' brother. If you guys are familiar with the flyweight fighter, Scoggins, tough family, tough dudes over there. And besides those two setbacks, has been doing his thing. Chris Gutierrez, though, on the other hand, Chris Gutierrez looked absolutely amazing in his last fight. The line's kind of high on him, but it's probably high on him for a reason. The way he looked in his last fight and being comfortable, the fact that he's going to be comfortable in there again this upcoming weekend, that he was just in the octagon, and it looked like an exhibition match against Vince Morales before he got the stoppage in the second round. Was throwing nasty calf kicks, beat the crap out of him with his boxing too. I'm definitely going to go with him to win this fight. Right now, it would be hard to doubt him against a lot of the guys in the division, but especially a UFC newcomer. There's been a lot of statistics showing that a lot of these guys that haven't been inside the octagon, a lot of newcomers and a lot of guys that have had a significant time out of the octagon, making their return, are not doing as well as these guys that are really comfortable, that have been, that fought recently in there, or that are keeping active. So, I'm on Gutierrez here. I like Gutierrez. His only loss was against Raoni Barcelos as of recently, and Raoni Barcelos is one of the most skilled fighters in the division, and that was back in 2018. So Gutierrez is continuing to grow his game, and I'm on him right here. You see a little picture here. This is when he was putting the work on Vince Morales. That was the first fight of that fight card, and he started the party off early. And this he's a beast, man. I'm telling you guys right now, this guy is a beast. So the line on that fight right now, Chris Gutierrez is right around minus 300, and even going a lot higher on some other books, up to 360. And I get it. People see the name, but now again, though, I'm going to tell you, Cody Durden is capable. This is a guy that has some striking to work with, and he has the wrestling background too, and he's a tough dude. So don't be overly surprised when he's game in there. He's a game opponent. But Gutierrez is going to work those calf kicks, and it's going to be a lot for him to handle, in my opinion. So. But he's getting it in, man. He's getting it in. So Chris Gutierrez, wouldn't be surprised if he gets to finish. Probably take him by decision, though. All right, so we got the first fight out the way. Creeping into the second fight, Jamall Emmers taking on Timur Valiev. This guy has a lot of hype behind him, man. This guy, Timur, nasty striking. It's been handling business, right? 16-2. Dude looks like he's in very good shape, putting in some work with Jackson Wink, and just been going out there pulling off victory after victory. Decent opponents too. It's funny, we just talked about Chris Gutierrez. He had a split decision loss against him back in 2016. Ended up redeeming himself in the next match. He took the second of the two. So take a look at him here, man, working the pads. Striking looks legit. Striking looks legit. Looks good on tape. And then, Jamall Emmers, this is a guy that a lot of people were really, really high on. You remember he was making his Dana White's Contender Series debut. He was a heavy favorite going into that fight against Julian Erosa. Julian Erosa spoiled the party big time. And Julian Erosa just spoiled the party recently too, right? Again, so I guess he's known for doing stuff like that. Jamall Emmers is a very well-rounded fighter. I would say he's more of a striking-based fighter. He likes to use his range, and he's very skilled from the outside, and he can put that work on you. He's coming off another loss though, in his last fight against Giga Chikazi, who's been doing his thing too. A very skilled striker that's been really cleaning up his overall mixed martial arts game. He lost that split decision fight to him. And before that, though, he got four victories in a row after that loss against Julian Erosa. So, he worked his way back up to the big show, and winning fights over in LFA, and was over at LFA even before the Dana White's Contender Series fight. So in RFA, has a bout against Thiago Moises. He's been in there with some really good fighters. He took out Corey Sandhagen back in the day. He's been locked in there with some of these guys. Thiago Moises, Corey Sandhagen, Chris Avila. He's not really that good of a fighter, but one of the Diaz boys. And Now he's taking on the Russian. I'm picking the Russian to win this fight. I've seen I've seen Emmers drop the ball against some of these more skilled fighters. You know, when he's put on the spotlight, and I think that this Russian fighter is just going to be cold blooded, and he's going to go in there, and I think he's going to be just another tenacious fighter that's just going to go in there and handle business. And you know, I'm picking him to win the fight. Jamall Emmers is a very skilled dude, but I think the line's almost validated, in my opinion, from when you go watch the fight tape. The dude is tough. Emmers is going to be a lot bigger in there, though. Keep an eye on that. Emmers is going to be a lot more rangy. You know, he's going to have an opportunity to, to sit on the outside and kind of work his striking game from the outside if he's able to do that. But I think that Timur is just going to be in his face, in my opinion. He'll close the distance, and I think he'll win the fight. So that's the way I'm going with that. All right, we got Markus Perez taking on Eric Spicely. Remember, Markus Perez came into his last fight with the green hair, dressed like the Joker. If he would have pulled off that victory, that would have been a really good look for him. I think that, he was getting a lot of eyes on him with that whole little weigh-in thing he did. And he's a very skilled fighter too, right? Markus Perez, I think he's a very skilled fighter. Very, very well-rounded. Good jiu-jitsu game, heavy hands, good striking. Former LFA champ. But he lost to Wellington Turman, who's a young up-and-comer, a young prospect that's actually a very good fighter. Before that, took out Anthony Hernandez. A lot of people were high on Anthony Hernandez, but, got whooped up there, got dropped. He dropped Anthony Hernandez and then pulled off the anaconda choke on him after he hurt him. Has losses to Eric Anders and Andrew Sanchez, two tough dudes. Took out Ian Heinisch. I know a lot of you guys know the deal with Ian Heinisch. Ian Heinisch is a very hot fighter right now. Paulo Thiago, he took out. He's been in there with some crafty veterans. If you guys remember Paulo Thiago, the old Brazilian cop. This guy used to be, battling with the guys in the favelas. This guy's a warrior, man. Paulo Thiago, man, had some nasty knockouts back in the day in the welterweight division. A lot of you guys, the new guys, you probably don't know about him, but having a victory against him, it shows you he stepped in there with some dudes. Ian Heinisch and Eric Spicely is a guy that, in my opinion, is more of a BJJ fighter. That's really his bread and butter. He wants to get you down to the ground and has underrated BJJ. Really good transitions. We saw him take out Thiago Santos, not too long ago back in the middleweight division when Santos was down there, and he looked good on the ground. Training over at TriStar Gym, and coming off a loss against Durden Win. That was a fight that you probably would like to see him take. Durden Win. A lot of people have been proving that he's too small for the division. He really hasn't been pulling off that many victories since that one right there. And before that, Spicely took out Chao Magalesh and Leo Pla. Not really the biggest names. He lost to Darren Stewart, Gerald Meerschaert, Antonio Carlos Jr. So, but again, he's dangerous off his back. You see the submission victories over Alessio De Chirico, good striker, Italian striker, and Thiago Santos. The submission skills are there. He could sub anybody. If he hurts you or if he gets you in the right position, he'll take your back and he'll put you out. So you got to be careful with that. I think that Markus Perez, though, also has some good jiu-jitsu skills, good jiu-jitsu defense. And I think he's the much better striker here. I think he's going to be, he's going to have the edge in the feet. I expect him to be able to stuff Spicely's takedown attempts or his attempts to get the fight to the mat. And I think that Perez can do enough on the feet. And I think he's going to be hungry for a victory here after losing to Wellington Turman, who is a good fighter. Again, I'll bring it up again. Wellington Turman's a good fighter. And here's Eric Perez putting in work down over here at Creek, a top team. One of the best gyms in the world you could be at. Team over here in the Muay Thai class. So he's getting that proper training. Game's going to continue to elevate. And the dude's, look at him over here as the Joker. He's a skilled fighter. I'm taking him to win this fight. Eric Spicely, not extremely high on him, but he is dangerous with his ground game. You see him snatching up Thiago Santos' back here. He has some nice transitions in that bout. But a guy that you really can't always depend on, and the striking is not that nice at all. So, really a one-dimensional type of fighter, in my opinion. All right. Creeping up into the third bout. Want to thank everybody again, man, that came over to the Fight Companion this past Saturday. It was a blast for me once again. We'll be doing it again for this card. So, remember that, man. The Fight Companion is always going down. All right, we got Ray Borg getting back in there. It looks like the UFC tried to give him, a match here where he's not necessarily thrown to the wolves like he has been as of recently. They really been throwing Ray Borg in there with some guys, or at least even trying to, right? I know one of the bouts was canceled, but, they went from throwing him in there with Ricky Simone up in the bantamweight division, who Ricky's a big dude, to trying to lock him in there with Merab Davashvili, but now they're giving him the UFC newcomer Nathan Maness, who actually is not that bad of a fighter, man. Do not get it twisted. I know he's making his UFC debut, but seems like a tough dude. Ray Borg, you guys know the deal at Ray Borg. Need I say more? Ray Borg is a guy. You saw him even in that Ricky Simone fight. You know, he was getting whooped up, getting taken down, but always hopping back up to his feet. He's tough. He was throwing haymakers. He's as game as it comes. You know what you're getting with Ray Borg, a guy that's he's gonna deliver for your money. You know, you put some money on him, he's gonna go out there and he's gonna try to win the fight. You know, if he doesn't win the fight, you know, maybe it's just, you know, maybe he's, you know, not as good of a fighter. Maybe you could say it like that, but it has nothing to do with heart. You know what I mean? He's gonna be out there trying to win that fight. And his grappling is good too. You know, he seems to be a little bit undersized in the bantamweight division. I think I liked him better in the flyweight division personally. I think when he gets matched up against some of these higher level bantamweight fighters, he's going to have some trouble, as we saw in the Ricky Simone fight. Ricky Simone was a major play of mine. I took Ricky in that spot. And now you got this UFC newcomer who, take a look at him here. Dropping dudes with the hands. You know, good grappling background as well. You see him holding gold over here in some of these smaller regional promotions, and the dude's a tough dude, man. I like what I've seen from him, to be honest. But again, I got to go with Ray Borg here. I'm not going to pick against Ray Borg in a spot like this. You know, I'd be slipping, I think, if I did. Ray Borg just, he delivers, and I'm high on Ray Borg. You know, took out Gabriel Silva and Rogerio Bontoran. Bontoran, a very skilled fighter. After losing that bout to Casey Keeney, that was a very close fight, back and forth match, you know, and Casey Keeney's a tough dude too. And then that was all after losing to Demetrius. But I like Ray Borg. I think Ray Borg is a very skilled fighter, and I expect Ray Borg to pull this fight off. You know, he has the experience, right? He's been in the octagon so many times compared to a guy like Nathan. Coming in around a minus 220, 210 favorite. Makes sense. Now, I'm going to pick Ray Borg to win that fight. But, you know, again, this guy, there's some guys getting shots here, man. You know, as they're getting their UFC debuts, and they're getting these shots for a reason. These guys are some of the best fighters in the world that are just, you know, creeping into the best promotion in the world, the UFC. So we're getting the hottest prospects, you know, on planet Earth. So expect Nathan to be a fighter. Don't expect him just to lay down out there. All right. Ed Short Hughes Herman taking on Gerald Meerschaert. And this should be a good one, right? Both these guys a little bit slow with their striking, but very entertaining. They'll brawl with you. Very crafty fighters. I've been watching Ed Herman from way back in the day, man. Back when he was a middleweight fighter. You know, since moved up to light heavyweight. And Gerald Meerschaert coming off a tough loss against Ian Heinisch. I believe he got finished right by Ian. And before that was looking pretty good, though, you know. Really stringing off loss, win, but looked good in that Darren Wynn fight. I picked him to win that fight as an underdog. Came through. Looked good in that fight. Take a look here. Has a lot of fights, too, man. Gerald Meerschaert. 44 professional bouts. GM3. I like this dude. Plays the saxophone like no other. The current best, 23 current best MMA middleweight fighter. And coming off that tough loss to Ian Heinisch, but Ian Heinisch, that's what he does. Went out there, took out Darren Wynn, lost a split decision fight to Eric Anders. That was a closely contested match. Took out Trevin Giles as a dog too. So, you know, Ed Herman though, a crafty, tough dude. We'll touch upon Ed here real quick. You know, has a bunch of bouts under his resume as well. And took out Kadis Abragimov, who hasn't really been looking good at all. Just got knocked out again. That poor kid's going to be cut from the UFC. But took out Patrick Cummins. That was a very entertaining fight as well. But, you know, he's fighting at a weight division that he really shouldn't be fighting at. He gets these fights still because he's a very entertaining fighter. He's a very skilled fighter too. But, I mean, if he's really... I don't think he's the type of guy that he's not really trying to fight for the belt down the line or anything. I think he understands the position he's in. He likes to compete. He likes to fight. He's as tough as they come, as tough as nails. He's a very skilled dude, but he's in there for entertaining fights and to make some money. I think he's blessed to do something that he loves, and he doesn't really feel like torturing himself doing the weight cut. And he goes in there and he delivers exciting fights. And I think this is going to be another very exciting fight. See that boy Ed Herman over here. He's working on the diet a little bit. There we go, boy Ed. Got the hippos fighting. He has some cool tattoos, right? He has a tattoo of an elephant. That's a sick tattoo. He's a cool dude, man, Ed Herman. And this has all the makings, in my opinion, to be a fight of the night, I think. Both these guys deliver. Take a look at the line. They got Gerald as almost a 2-1 favorite. And Ed Herman will show up to fight. He will show up to scrap. So, and do not underestimate his skills here. As of right now, I'm going to have a slight lean on Gerald Meerschaert, GM3. That's a fight that you could see a possible change of my bet selections on Instagram. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, MMA Fortune Teller _ where I always post my up-to-date selections for each fight morning. The fight day of Saturday morning. So right now I'm slightly on GM3, and I don't know how I feel about that line as far as betting. All right. This is an interesting match here. We got Jonathan Martinez taking on Frankie Saenz. Frankie hasn't been inside the octagon for about, a year and a half. Jonathan Martinez was really starting to look pretty good there until he had that setback as of recently. Against Andre Ewell, a split decision loss. Frankie Saenz creeping up on 40 years old. Very tough dude who's had some big wins. He has some big names on his resume. We'll get to those in a second too. But, the Andre Ewell fight was a very closely contested match. The Andre Sukumtat loss, he was young. He's young here. I mean, how old is he right now? We got him at 26 years old. Yeah, he was like 24 years old when he fought Andre. So he's growing in front of our eyes. Striking is coming around. We saw him take out Ping Wang Lu. That was a nasty knee. Hit him with in the third round. And had a tough fight there against Weiji Baran. And Frankie Saenz, I talked about some of these big names he has on his resume. And check them out. He's went out there. He's taken out Merab Davashvili. Not a lot of people are doing that. Yuri Alcantara back in the day. So, dude's a tough dude, Frankie Saenz. Lost to Uriah Faber, Eddie Wineland, Augusto Mendez. And, Frankie Saenz has a strong wrestling background. He's a tough grappler. Has, decent power in the hands, too. Like a good boxing game. And, he's a tough dude. He's your overall tough dude. And you're going to have, the young gun and Jonathan Martinez versus the older guy. I think it's an interesting matchup here. Take a look at Frankie over there with the Korean Zombie. And, I think it's a solid matchup. Here was a clip from the Andre Ewell fight, working the nice jab there. And, see how these guys match up as far as their body goes. Jonathan Martinez with a 2-inch height advantage and a 3.5-inch reach advantage. He's got the youth on his side. And, he should win this fight, but Frankie can come out there. He could try to spoil the party. Definitely going to go with Jonathan Martinez to win the fight. Almost a 2-1 favorite. Be careful there. Try to get it at a good line if you're targeting this fight. Otherwise, for those of you guys that are going off with Frankie, we'll see. We'll see if Frankie can rise to the occasion again here. And he's done it sometimes in his career, so I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to do it again. Or if he does it. A lot of people are on Martinez here. All right, we got the Trailblazer, Kevin Holland, taking on Trevin Giles. Of course, Kevin Holland coming in with the 3-inch height advantage. Pretty much going to be taller than everybody in the division. And pretty much have a reach advantage on anyone in the division. I'm really high in this guy, Kevin Holland. Start off with Kevin right now. Kevin looked amazing in his last match. Made quick work of Anthony Hernandez. Looked amazing in that fight. Before that, did lose to Brendan Allen. I had Brendan Allen to pull off that fight. I believe Allen was even a slight dog there. And Holland has very good, very underrated grappling. His head coach, I think it was Lutter, right? Travis Lutter, ex-UFC fighter, Travis Lutter, BJJ, who's a very crafty Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. So he's been learning under him for some time. And the striking is there too. And he's very unorthodox. He's very relaxed on the feet. You gotta like having some money behind this guy if you get him at a good line. But his opponent here, Trevin Giles, is definitely a capable opponent. A guy that had a lot of promise. Speaking of Gerald Meerschaert, I think Gerald took him out not too long ago. Yep. Gerald took him out and Zach Cummings. Those were two fights that he came in as a pretty good favorite, and he dropped the ball. He went in there. He barely took out James Krause. We talked about that with James Krause. I kind of thought James did enough to win that fight. It could have went either way. Coin flip. I think it made sense. It was a split decision. Trevin Giles was more on him, going for the takedowns, pressuring him. But James Krause was using some good footwork. He was picking his shots. And nevertheless, it was a win for James Krause because, he took that fight on short notice. And it was fight of the night, too. So it was a good fight for both those guys. But again, James Krause is a welterweight fighter. So now you got Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland's a guy that's fought at light heavyweight, too. He's a very rangy, tall, daddy long leg type of guy. And I'm on Kevin Holland here. I'm taking Kevin Holland. I think he's more skilled as well. Trevin Giles is a tough dude. Might be a little bit stronger, maybe, in the clinch and whatnot and with the takedowns. But I don't think that's going to be enough to pull the fight off. Just being stronger. I think Kevin Holland has good jiu-jitsu. I think he'll scramble. He'll get out of tough positions, and his striking will be better. You see Kevin Holland over here. That's when he had the quick finish of Anthony Hernandez. Poor Anthony Hernandez has been having some tough outings as of recently. Trevin Giles, you see him over here. He's had some tough bouts too, man. He's taking on guys like Brandon Allen on the regional scene. I believe that was over in LFA. You see him over here with James Krause. And the dude, he's a solid fighter too. But I'm taking Kevin Holland. I like Kevin Holland here. So, yep, taking Kevin Holland to win the fight. All right. Second fight into the main card, and we got a rematch. We got Bobby King Green taking on Lando Vannata. Of course, they had a very, very closely contested match. The last time they went out there, it was actually a draw. Very wild fight. And Lando Vannata is a guy that people were so high on back in the day. He went in there. He was the first guy to really put it on Tony Ferguson the way that he did, taking that fight on short notice. But things never really panned out, the way that I think that he wanted them to. Towards the beginning of his career. He is coming off a victory, but, losing to guys like Mark Diakese, Jakar Close, David Timur, he's had some tough losses. 2 draws on his record. Should have won the Matt Favola fight. He allowed that fight to be a draw. Kind of let Matt, some crazy things happen in that fight. He could have almost finished Matt in that fight. I remember watching some tape on that, but it was a wild fight, and I remember it was his fault that he allowed that to become a draw. He was dominating that fight at times, and he should have put the stamp on that. But a very tricky guy in the feet, spinning back kicks. We've seen that. How about the spinning back kick knockout he had against John McDessie, one of the nastiest knockouts we've ever seen. That's why he was so hyped up too, right? After going out there and almost taking out Tony Ferguson before getting finished, but it was a wild fight and he took it on short notice. He goes out there, hits John McDessie with a spinning wheel kick, and then everyone's so high on him, and then then he gets thrown to the gauntlet. Just a bunch of tough UFC fighters, and things haven't really went his way. Looked good in the Yancy Medeiros fight. Yancy's a tough fighter, but not the most skilled guy in my opinion. That was a tailor-made matchup for him. Bobby Green is a guy coming off that victory against Clay Guida. Wasn't overly impressed with him in that fight. I did have some money on him there, and he came through. But the takedown defense was there, and his striking's it's okay. He's unorthodox. He's very loose with his striking. He's very he's almost like he's in a sparring match. People underestimate his grappling and his wrestling. And take a look at the boys here. That was from their first match. Bobby Green says, here we go again, fucker. LOL. Let's see who's growing more over time. I like Bobby Green, man. Bobby Green's a really cool dude, in my opinion. If you follow him on social media, I like the message that he sends out. And I like this fight. I want to see who has grown more, right? We're gonna see. I'm gonna take Bobby King Green to win the fight. I think it's a very close match, as we saw already the first time. By the way, Groovy Lando says, see you soon, Bobby. So he's ready for business. And I'm going to take Bobby Green. I think it's going to play out very closely. Bobby Green's the dog here. And I think it should be almost a pick 'em. Maybe a slight edge. I don't know, Bobby. It's a close match. Maybe Lando goes out there and puts the stamp on it this time. It's a very close match. So we'll see how that all plays out. It's another fight. Maybe I'm going to put some more time on those guys too as well. So stay tuned. Follow my Instagram. See if that's my official play that stays. But I have Bobby Green as of right now. All right, we got a match taking place in the welterweight division. Vincent Luque taking on Randy Brown. Vincent Luque, this guy has came through for me time and time again. I've had a lot of bets on this guy throughout the years. And went out there and handled Nico Price. Of course, the Mike Perry fight, I had a big play on him that night. Definitely stayed away from him against Stephen Thompson. I wasn't touching that. I was on Stephen Thompson. But Stephen Thompson, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated fighters in the game. One of the best strikers to have ever done it. and looking forward to seeing him get back in there. And yeah, now he's taking on Randy Brown. You know, I find it interesting the way that the UFC has groomed him. They really give Vincent Luque a lot of lower level. I don't want to say lower level, but they don't really give him the big names. He's been kind of on a slow track towards the top if you look at his resume, right? I mean, he's been out there destroying guys ever since the Ultimate Fighter, taking out Hader Hassan, taking out these lower level types of guys. Took out Belal Muhammad, lost to Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards, a very underrated fighter, but then goes on another 6-fight win streak, taking out guys like Jalen Turner, the Tarantula, Brian Barberena, Derek Krantz, Mike Perry. Did get the big fight here against Stephen Thompson, but then they throw him right back in there with a guy that he already beat in Nico Price. But Nico Price always delivers, so I guess they were giving Nico a present to try to redeem a loss or something. But, now Randy Brown. Randy Brown, tough customer, but more of a guy that's still trying to make a name for himself at 30 years old, the rude boy. Took out Warley Alves, looked good there, Brian Barberena, but, loses to guys like Nico Price, Belal Muhammad, and Mike Graves. That was a while back too, but I would expect maybe Vincent to get a bigger name, but I guess this is what they had to work with right now, and this is the fight we got. And I got Vincent Luque to win this fight. I like Vincent Luque. His Muay Thai is spectacular. It's so polished. He always has his hands up, blocking his chin. The knees go up the middle. You see clips here. He's just a very well-rounded fighter. The calf kicks are nasty. He's been training with some of the best in the game for years and years and years. He's been being groomed by some of the best fighters. See him over here. He's over there. I think this is what he was in Burns' corner for one of his victories. I mean, rubbing shoulders with some of the best, man. Over there, Hard Knocks 365. It's been trained by one of the best striking coaches in the game, Henry Hooft. And, he's, like I said, man, he was on the Ultimate Fighter American Top Team versus the Black Zillions. He was back with the Black Zillions, training with guys like Kamaru Usman, all those guys. So, I'm taking him here. The only thing I'll say, the X factor in this fight is that Vincent's taken a lot of damage. He has taken a lot of damage throughout the years. You gotta worry about that sometimes. Randy Brown, he's a tough dude. He's a tough dude. Saw what he did to Brian Barberena. Got a nasty finish there. But I'm on Vincent Luque all day here. See the rude boy. I think he's giving you the finger. I don't know. Maybe he's giving the finger to me because I picked against him. A little upset about that, rude boy. I guess that's why they call him rude. He's a rude boy. But yeah, Vincent Luque to win that fight. All right, we got the co-main event and main event spots coming up. Joanne Calderwood taking on Jennifer Maia. Joanne Calderwood, the bad mofo. She's been looking good, man. She's really been looking good as of recently. She's a tough chick. I like her. She whispers when she talks, but she's 34 years old now. And I still think that even at 34 years old, I think that she's at the top of her game, in my opinion. I think she's reaching her peak here. Just pulled off a split decision victory against Andrea Lee. A lot of people thought Andrea Lee won that fight. So, maybe a little bit of a gift. Oh, no, excuse me. That was the Lauren Murphy fight. Actually, both of them, really. A lot of people thought that Andrea Lee won both these fights. But in particular, the Lauren Murphy fight was the one a lot of people thought was a complete robbery. The Joanne Calderwood fight was actually close. And honestly, I think Calderwood probably did enough to pull that fight off, in my opinion. I think she did do enough to win that fight. So, look good there. Back to the Scottish fighter. Caitlin Chookagian, she lost that. Caitlin Chookagian's a tough customer. Took out Ariane Lipsky, who looked very good in her last fight. Calandra Ferreira. And then, look at the girls she's losing to. Very, very top-level opponents. Jessica Andrade, Cynthia Calvillo, Caitlin Chookagian. And she's a good fighter. Striking's good. Very skilled in there. Jennifer Maia, this is a girl that holds her own on the feet as well. She's a tough chick, man. Don't sleep on Jennifer Maia. I've made money on her. I had a big play on her against Roxanne Modafferi. She came through in that spot. Good grappling as well. She does come in at points and times, in my opinion, a little bit chubby, and sometimes she looks a little bit out of shape. She gets tired in there. I'd like to see her be a little bit more lean. But you know what? Everything I've been seeing from her recently, I think she looks to be in good shape. She looks to be in really good shape here from what I saw. So this is 1 week out. That was 2 days ago. So, I mean, that's what you're going to expect, man. When you see her on the scale, she's going to be in very good shape here. Again, though, I'm telling you, I've seen her come in a little chubby, so that's something to take into consideration. I think she's taking this fight very seriously. So, looking very good here. See the abs peeking in a little bit. And, she's put in work over it with Invicta, the UFC promotion nowadays. UFC owns them. I'm trying to remember if she was a champion over there. I believe she might have been a champion over there. She had some good fights. She fought Roxanne over there as well. She beat Roxanne twice. Took out Alexis Davis. Roxanne Modafferi. Yep, that was an Invicta. And tough dude. I mean, tough chick. A tough dude. I think that she's going to give Joanne a run for her money. We'll take a look at the line. Joanne Calderwood a minus 180. Whew. You feel comfortable with that? I like what I've seen from Joanne, but again, Maia's going to show up. Maia is going to show up. I do like Joanne to win this fight straight up. You know, picking an opponent who I really foresee winning the fight. I do like Joanne Calderwood. I like what I've seen from her with the striking over the years. She's crafty in there. You know, and she really makes it look good for the judges as well. You know, when she's on the feet, she makes it look good for the judges. And she's a hard chick to root against, right? So yeah, I got Calderwood to win the fight, but I like Jennifer Maia as well. So all right, creeping up to the main event. Here we go, boys and girls. Main event taking place in the middleweight division. We got Edmen Shahbazian taking on Derek Brunson. I know there's a guy that's always in the comment sections. I think he actually says his name's Edmen Shahbazian, but I don't really think it's Edmen. Obviously a diehard Edmen fan. Your time has come now, man. We got a big fight coming up for Edmen. Step up in competition against Derek Brunson, the golden boy. Edmen Shahbazian. See him over here. Nasty work on the pads. Very quick hands. And you know what? Of course, remember, man, this guy is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu based fighter. This guy was winning all types of tournaments since he was a young buck, but the striking has really came around. The striking is very, very polished. Very, very high level boxing, in my opinion, in regards to UFC fighters, you know? He's out there, he's doing his thing. I like it. Keeps his elbows nice and tight, man. He's very, very technical. I like having fighters like that, having money behind fighters like that. And again, very well rounded. Take a look at Edmen over here. 22 years old. This guy's only creeping up on 23 years old now. 22 years and 8 months. Fighting out of Glendale, California. Of course, he's fighting out of the Glendale Fighting Club. Trained by Ronda Rousey's old head coach. A lot of you guys are big fans of his. And I'm high on Edmen Shahbazian. Now we'll talk about Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson's a guy that carries legit power in his hands. Don't get it twisted. This guy is a real athlete. A little sloppy with his striking, though, in my opinion. We've seen him go out there and just really drop the ball against guys like drop the ball against Robert Whittaker. Remember that Robert Whittaker put it on him? That was a fight where he bombarded Robert Whittaker, and then Robert Whittaker ended up just using his footwork, and then took him out after that. We saw what Israel Adesanya did to him. Israel Adesanya was just composed, technical, and he went out there and tried to take his head off right away, and it wasn't a good look for him. I'm sure he's still working on stuff, though. He's cleaning things up. Coming off a big victory against Ian Heinisch, too. Let's not forget that. You know, Ian Heinisch, a lot of you guys are high on him now. Looked really good in that fight against Ian Heinisch, and he said that he cleaned up a lot of things in that fight. So, before that, took out Elias Theodoro. And, you see the two losses against Jacare Souza and Israel Adesanya. And, Anderson Silva. That was a fight that not a lot of people thought Silva won, but they gave it to him. So, whatever. But he let that fight play out closely. And then the Robert Whittaker fight we talked about. Uriah Hall, he finished him. Yeah, I mean, he's a very tough dude. Took out Sam Alvey. Do not sleep on this guy. Took out Ed Herman. Beat Lorenz Larkin. Very, very solid resume. And this is a major step up for... This is a major step up for Edmen Shahbazian. I'm telling you guys right now. Major step up. But I think that Edmen is capable here. The line's a little high, maybe. Minus 300. But Edmen Shahbazian is the truth. I think the name, the Golden Boy, is legit. I expect big things from him. We saw what he just did in his last fight against Brad Tavares. It was disgusting. You see what we did in the fights before that. I mean, he's going out there finishing these guys left and right. Tough dudes, too. Charles Burr, Jack Marshman. These are tough, skilled opponents. Brad Tavares, the real deal. Very, very tough. Almost a gatekeeper. He's more of a gatekeeper to the gatekeepers, but tough dude. Nevertheless, Brad Tavares. Don't sleep on him. And the way he went out there and did that was just very impressive. And I got Edmen Shahbazian to win this fight. And I probably would say Edmen probably gets the finish here, too. 5-round fight. Derek Brunson, He leaves his chin up there a lot, and Edmen being very technical with his striking. I could see him finishing him. But Derek Brunson also has looked to be like a new and improved type of fighter that's, has had a resurgence in his career, pulling off that victory against Ian Heinisch. So don't be surprised if, he shows up and gives Edmen Shahbazian a good run for his money Saturday night. The line is obviously high on Edmen, minus 330. And we'll see how this line goes. But I like Edmen Shahbazian to win the fight. All right. That sums up the fight card. I appreciate everybody that's hung around for the entire show. MMA live discussion is going to be taking place this Thursday. Been talking with a few fighters. Believe I have a fighter lined up. Looks like I know who it's going to be. I don't want to say it just yet. He's confirmed to come on, but I want to make sure this Thursday works for him. It's a guy that you guys will be excited to see on the show, in my opinion. This is a guy that brings it every time he steps inside the octagon. Participates in entertaining fight after entertaining fight. This is a guy that's made his way from Dana White's Contender Series. So stay tuned to see who it is. If it's going to be him. If it's not him, it's probably be somebody else. I got a couple fighters I've been talking to. I'm going to potentially see if I get Tanner Bozer on the show too. Wasn't able to initially make Thursday nights, but because you see why. He's been training for these fights that he's been having left and right. But maybe he's on a little bit of a break now. Maybe I'll catch him for a live Thursday night. Otherwise, we're going to have to do a pre-recorded interview with him. And yeah, man, that pretty much sums it up. I appreciate all you guys watching the show. Please like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. And go catch me over on Instagram too. MMA Fortune Teller _. And you guys can also catch me at Twitter, which I'm very rarely on. I'll try to step on there a little bit more. Let me know if for those of you guys that are on Twitter that don't mess with Instagram, should I try to get on Twitter a little bit more? Because I'm not so fond of Twitter, but if you guys aren't on Instagram and I can only reach a lot of you guys through there, I'll start to pick it up with Twitter. And over there, it's at the MMA Teller, TheMMATELLER. You guys can check me out over there too, and let me know guys, should I step it up on Twitter or not? But I'm more of an Instagram type of dude. Definitely catch me over on Instagram. And with no further ado, signing out, the Teller,
the MMA Fortune Teller.
The Teller.